explore its internal mechanisms to resolve the crisis rocking the APC in Edo State.
Me, as the spokesperson of APC in Oyo State, I believe that it is intrigue. It is intrigues between the governor of the state, Obaseki, and the national chairman. And if the national chairman is a national chairman, and you are saying the world chairman suspends him, it's a question I can even ask you. You are just an employee of Pensioner FM. Yes. Can you suspend your chairman?
Olatunde Wu confirmed he reached out to the APC publicity secretary in Edo State upon hearing the court ruling, said the party in Edo has insisted that the suspension would not hold. President Muhammadu Buhari has felicitated former President Olusegun Obasanjo on his 83rd birthday. Obasanjo, who celebrates his birthday today, was described by President Buhari as someone whose commitment to nationhood is outstanding. In a statement by his special advisor on media and publicity, Femi Adesina, President Buhari joined family members and friends to celebrate Obasanjo while also underscoring his sacrifices for the continent. While congratulating the former president, Buhari saluted Obasanjo for his courage, dedication and service to Nigeria, Africa and humanity in general. Meanwhile, former President Goodluck Jonathan, former Vice President Atiku Abubakar, state governors and other prominent Nigerians have been showering the former president with praises on his birthday. Oyo State government is set to commence a technologically driven revenue remittance system for collection of levy from commercial vehicles, tricycles and motorbikes in the state to enhance the park management system. The plan was disclosed at a special training organized for revenue agents by the State Board of Internal Revenue in partnership with the Ministry of Works and Transportation held in Ibadan. The director of project, Mosun Obembe, explained that an electronically generated ticket would be issued to commercial drivers and riders on daily basis to ensure levies collected were remitted into the state coffers and boost its revenue base. She also assured that the agents would work with park managers and all stakeholders to ensure a seamless process and orderliness in the system.
Basically, we will not be using tickets. What we have are generated immediately on the spot, something similar to this, which is more or less you pay and they print to you immediately from a small printer. That way, we're ensuring that all the tickets going out are actually being remitted back to the government, as opposed to just issuing out random tickets that we have no control over. So basically, we're merging in technology into the collection process to make it more effective.
In a reaction, representative of the Commissioner for Works and Transportation, Mr. Bolaji Oyekomi, while shedding light on the essence of the training, cautioned illegal revenue collectors to desist from the act or face the full wrath of the law.
Promise the people of the good people of Oyo State that the Honorable Commissioner will definitely put a stop to it. As a matter of fact, whoever is doing it should desist immediately, because I know there are measures in place to check it. And whoever is caught doing what is wrong will definitely face it.
Some of the agents who were participants at the training expressed confidence that the system would help to harmonize revenue collections from commercial riders and drivers and plug loopholes. It is still news around the world on Pensioners 106.7 FM. Let's now talk some labor and pension matters. Despite federal government's seeming silence on the move to borrow 2 trillion naira from the 10 trillion naira pension fund to develop the nation's infrastructure, reactions have hardly stopped trailing that earlier declaration. The move by the government has continued to receive criticism in different quarters. Our correspondent Yetunde Oke sought the views of some pensioners on the development. Her report.
Pension funds are collective investment undertakings that manage employee savings and retirement. The primary objective is to provide pensioners who have reached retirement age with income in form of a lifetime pension or capital. It is a retirement plan where an employee adds money into a fund that include contributions by the employer. And the workers' pension payments are determined by the length of the employee's working years and the annual income they earn on the job leading up to retirement. Because the federal government expressed expressed its intention to borrow 2 trillion naira from the current 10 trillion naira pension funds to finance the development of infrastructure. How are those to be affected? Talking about pensioners taking these, some executive members of the Nigerian Union of Pensioners (NUP) speak. Southwest chairman of the NUP, who doubles as the Ekiti State Council chairman, Elder Ayo Kikumapai, said the pension fund is set aside for pensioners as life savings, wondering what will happen if it is not returned after borrowing.
We will be very careful because the pension fund is money set aside for pensioners to use. We are not very particularly happy about the money being used because there's possibility of the money not being returned. So, and if it's not returned, who suffers? The affected pensioners who that's their life savings. We don't particularly buy that idea.
The acting chairman of the NUP, Oyo State Council, Comrade Abolade Isiaka, buttressed on the fact that if the federal government still owns arrears and gratuity, why should it think of dipping hands into the pension funds, appealing to the government to seek fund somewhere else?
This is a money meant for pensioners. This is when the federal government, they are still owing a lot of pensioners their gratuity, and then this on at least a pensioners fund. It shouldn't be. They have not settled all the pensioners, whether the federal and the state level.
On his part, Comrade Olusegun Abaton, the Secretary NUP Oyo State Council, who gave the reason behind the contributory pension scheme, appeals to the federal government not to even contemplate the idea.
The reason behind the contributory pension scheme by those that put it down is to dip hands in the kitty, the money of pensioners. It is quite unfortunate that in the build up to the contributory pension scheme, the head of state then, Olusegun Obasanjo, who is very averse to trade unionism, knew what he was doing, and he knows that by having these people under contributory pension scheme, they wouldn't have any voice. We want to appeal to government, if they have not done it, to stop dipping their hands in the sweat, in the contributions of retired personnel. If they want money, they should go elsewhere, find money.
Some pensioners in the state also bear their minds.
Ordinarily, the pension funds are not expected to be sitting for. They are funds that are utilized for developmental and economic purposes. And that should be yielding profits and dividends so that the fund can grow. Whether the president dipping his hand to his a reliable investment option is a question to be answered. I doubt it.
There is nothing bad, but the problem is the retirees, they are suffering in silence. And if anything should stop their gratuity or pension rider, it will not go well. And then Buhari, he wants to spend the money for the generality of the public as well. And in a crossroad.
It is hoped that with all this plea, the federal government will have a rethink on the issue. Yetunde Oke for Pensioners FM.
The Kaduna State House of Assembly has amended the State Pension and Gratuity Law 2006 for governors to provide for death benefits to any of them who died while in service. The benefits as provided in the amendment will be lump sum of the gross annual salary of the incumbent governor or deputy governor as a death benefit to the family. It was reported that the lawmakers unanimously passed the amendment at plenary presided by the Deputy Speaker, Alhaji Mukhtar Hazo. Already, there is a provision in the law for payment of pension and gratuity for former governors and deputies in the state. Speaking after the sit-in, Alhaji Suleiman Dabo, representing Zaria constituency, explained that the law was amended to ensure fairness to any governor or deputy who might die while serving the state. The lower house of the French Parliament has approved a hotly debated overhaul of the country's pension system, clearing a major hurdle for one of President Emmanuel Macron's signature reforms. The law passed on Wednesday, shortly after the midnight, after two no-confidence votes introduced by the opposition failed against Macron's centrist majority. Centrist President Macron's plan to replace France's professional pension schemes with a single national scheme has sparked weeks of strikes and protest. Trade unions and opposition parties slammed the move as anti-democratic votes their calls for fresh protest against a bill that triggered the longest French transport strike in decades fell largely on deaf ears. It is still news around the world on Pensioners 106.7 FM. Now to other stories. The presidents of Somalia and Kenya have spoken on the phone following a heightened diplomatic role. Somalia's presidential communication team said Somalia's president Mohamed Abdullahi Mohamed and his Kenya counterpart Uhuru Kenyatta spoke on Thursday morning, a day after Kenya accused Somalia's military of carrying out an attack across its border. The two leaders agreed to work together to improve border security and form two committees drawn from both countries to look into strengthening diplomatic and trade relations. Somali soldiers on Monday destroyed buildings in the northern Kenya town of Mandera while fighting forces from Somalia's semi-autonomous state of Jubaland. President Kenyatta, in a statement, had accused Somalia of breaching Kenya's territorial integrity. South African authorities say two citizens who initially tested positive for coronavirus have now tested negative and will shortly be making their way home. Their pair had been hospitalized in Japan after being taken ashore from the cruise ship they were working on. The Diamond Princess vessel was first quarantined back in January when a passenger who disembarked in Hong Kong tested positive for coronavirus. There are currently no confirmed coronavirus cases on South African soil. Meanwhile, Africa's largest carrier, Ethiopian Airlines, has once again refused to cancel flights to China despite rising pressure following the coronavirus outbreak. By contrast, South African Airways, Royal Air Maroc, Air Tanzania, Air Mauritius, Egypt Air, Rwanda Air and Kenya Airways have all suspended flights to and fro from China. But Ethiopian Airlines boss Towelde Gebremariam said unstopping flights to China was not the solution to fighting the spread of coronavirus. He added that it was unfair to isolate China because of the virus. The number of confirmed coronavirus cases in Algeria has jumped to 17 after 9 new cases were registered on Wednesday night. Algeria's health ministry said 9 new cases were registered from a family living in the northern Blida district, some 30 kilometers from the capital, Algiers. The family had last month hosted relations from France who had tested positive for the new coronavirus after flying back to France. Similarly, Senegal's health ministry said 2 new infections were confirmed on Wednesday, bringing to 4 the number of patients in the West African country. North Korean President Kim Jong-un has sent a letter to his counterpart Moon Jae-in to console South Koreans fighting the coronavirus. There has been very little communication between the two leaders since the failed summit in Hanoi between Donald Trump and Kim Jong-un last February. It comes a day after Mr. Kim's only sister, Kim Yo-jong, described the South Korea's presidential office as idiotic for condemning Pyongyang's recent short-range ballistic missile tests. California has declared a state of emergency after announcing its first coronavirus death, bringing the United States death toll from the disease to 11. The 71-year-old man who died in a hospital near Sacramento had underlying health conditions and had been on a cruise ship. There are now at least 150 reported U.S. patients with COVID-19 in 16 states. Worldwide, authorities have confirmed more than 92,000 cases of the virus, of which more than 80,000 are in China, with more than 3,000 people dead globally. After spending millions on his own campaign, Michael Bloomberg is dropping out of the 2020 presidential race. Mr. Bloomberg, a former mayor of New York City, spent at least $409 million of his own money in the race to become the Democratic Party's nominee. He said he would now support former Vice President Joe Biden. You're still on to news around the world on Pensioners 106.7 FM. We will be back with entertainment and sports stories shortly. Welcome back. The organization Action by Christians for the Abolition of Torture says Rwandan gospel singer Kizito Mihigo, who died in police custody last month, had wanted to seek asylum in Europe. It said the musician had wanted to leave Rwanda as he could no longer work because his songs were banned from the public and pro-government media, and no one wanted him to work for fear of reprisals. The singer, popularly known by his first name, Kizito, died 3 days after he was arrested near the border with Burundi. He had been accused of attempting to flee the country and join rebel groups fighting against the Rwandan government. Last week, the authorities said he had taken his own life after his arrest. And moving to the world of sport, International Olympic Committee IOC President Thomas Bach says the world's cancellation and postponement are not mentioned in regards to Tokyo 2020 at an executive board meeting. Japan's Olympic minister claimed on Tuesday that the Summer Games could be postponed until later in the year amid fears over the coronavirus outbreak. But Bach said the IOC would not speculate on any kind of future development. The Games are due to be held from 24 July to 9 August. The right to cancel the Games remains with the IOC, but Bach had stated that the organization remains very confident with regard to the success of the Games in Tokyo. To end news around the world on Pensioners 106.7 FM, here is the recap of the main stories. Comrade Adams Oshomole has appealed an Abuja High Court's ruling which suspended him as the national chairman of the All Progressives Congress. Kenya and Somalia's presidents have spoken on phone in the wake of a recent diplomatic row between both countries. California has declared a state of emergency after it announced the first coronavirus death, bringing to a total of 11 deaths from the disease in the United States. In sport, President of the International Olympic Committee, Thomas Bach, has dismissed speculations on the possibility of postponing the 2020 Olympics in Tokyo, Japan, over the coronavirus. For any information, contact us on these mobile numbers 0812-008-6270 or 0802-237-3535 or visit us at Oyo State Pensioners House, Agbarigo, Onireke, Ibadan. The news editor is Michael Adeyemo. On behalf of the production crew, I am ABIOLA. AYODELE. Good afternoon. Looking for that radio station that will serve you better.
It's the sports, entertainment, you go know we be master.
Information, education, now we get to make you era.
Enter the place, we set the pace, so you come follow in the race and say
Agbarigo Onireke 106.7.
What's a vibration, it could be a balloon.